have been storyboarded by campers, sound effects created by campers, puppets created by campers, and staging and writing that's been a collaboration between teachers and campers. So you're going to see a lot of original, never-before-seen material this afternoon. We even have an original composed song being premiered this afternoon. So lots of things to look forward to. But before our showcase, it is our tradition to start with a shout-out ceremony. At the end of camp, every single day, we do shout-outs, and that is a time for campers to call out the amazing, extraordinary things that they saw other campers doing throughout the day. And so at the end of the week, the teachers want to have the opportunity to shout out each of the campers. Now, when we give a shout-out, when we finish it up, everybody says in unison, "Whoop, whoop!" And we would invite you to join us in our shout-outs today. All right, campers, when you come up for your shout-outs, you're going to come up through this door to your left. You're going to come over to Jay. You're going to sign your name so that we can put the summer camp poster on the wall. A lot of you have enjoyed seeing the camp poster from last year with your signatures up. This one will be going up too. And then you're going to go down the stairs, go by Ryan, and you are going to kind of, let's actually have us, as we do that, let's have us fill in the second row behind Ryan, and then we're not crawling over everybody, because we have to get into different arrangements to start our show anyway. All right, got it? Yep. All right, Taj, I believe you are up first. Come on up. All right, so Taj has been at theater camp quite a bit this past year, but this was her very first week-long summer theater camp. Come on, yep, go on over and sign your name. And I think when she showed up for the first day, she was like, I have to be here how long? And there was a little bit of, I'm very used to being here after school. That seems like a good amount of time. What could we possibly do all day long? And it has been so cool to see, come right on up here, Taj, so they can give you a shout out. It has been so cool to see her discovering all of the games, all of the friendships. I've seen Taj make friends with a lot of the older campers. She really is not afraid to go up and start a conversation with anybody that she meets. And seeing her kind of come into her own this week at theater camp, I heard her say at one point, I'm coming every week this summer. She has bought into the full day camp experience. So I'm going to give a shout out to Taj for jumping in to the deep end this week and having an awesome time. Taj is going to head off that way. Delia, come on up. So Delia had a couple moments this week that were just really knockout moments. The first one was when we got all of the boom whackers out, and if you've been in an elementary music class in the last 20 years or so, those are those big plastic tubes that you can create a scale with by whacking them against stuff. So we got the boom whackers out to make our Foley. Delia looked at them and proceeded to sing a major scale all the way up, unprompted. She just has music in her bones. And it was really, really fun to see that just coming out of her. And the other thing she has coming out of her bones is just a creativity in her movement. She just loves to move on stage. You're going to see when she's performing, she plays one of our owls, and she uses her entire body to show us how that owl moves. And she just has a blast doing it. So a shout out to Delia for just emanating excitement and music and joy this week. Izzy, come on up. Izzy is coming back for her second summer of theater camp. It's really kind of her third because we met Izzy doing digital camps during the summer of 2020. But what I've loved seeing about Izzy this week is that she is really starting to gain confidence on stage and in games. When she is doing her part in the puppet show, she has to move back and forth between several different pieces. I do not think anyone has ever had to tell her more than the first time when she moved and why. She just is like, all right, I'm done with this, stands up, moves straight over to where she's going next. She is a pro. And a few days ago, we were playing a game where you send the energy around the circle, and we were practicing our kung fu moves. And she gave a tiger uppercut. And the first time we could hear it, it was good. but Jay kind of went, I don't know, Izzy, I bet we can do it a little stronger. And she just unleashed this tiger uppercut, and everyone in the circle just spontaneously broke into applause. They were all just so excited to see Izzy have that kind of confidence. She's so joyful, and she is just shining up on stage. So thanks for being so confident this week, Izzy. Good job. Kalina, come on up. All right, so Kalina returned to summer camp this year. It's been a little while since we've had her here, and it's been really awesome to see her again. Where I really saw Kalina shine this week was in her interactions with the other campers. She has moments where she just is so happy and ready to talk with anyone and just welcoming, especially to our youngest campers. She really made some of the campers that were coming in for their first week feel comfortable and feel at home, which I was really impressed with because it had been a little while since Kalina had been here herself. So to be that welcoming on her first week back and treat them like a visit, like a really honored guest at your house, I just thought was really special. So shout out to Kalina for being so welcoming. Asher, come on up. So it was really interesting this week to see some of our campers who are moving into that middle school age group who have had all of these older campers and mentors who were there to be their competitors in games, to be in shows with them, to see them moving into middle school and becoming those mentors and colleagues and just kind of role models. And Asher really stepped up to the plate with that this week, especially in games. It was really fun to see him leading by example about how we break games down, how we come up with ideas how to make games better, and he was just always ready to offer his thoughts and to bring that kind of tactician brain that he has to all of the games that we play at the auditorium. So shout out to Asher for leading by example. Paxton, come on up. Paxton's another camper we were so happy to welcome back this year, and I was so happy to have him here for this week because we were creating our sound effects for our plays using all the different musical instruments that we play. And this older group, I think everybody in the group together combined played like 15 different instruments, but a lot of those were Paxton's. And so it was really great to have him brainstorming how are we going to create these different sounds using our instruments, just the care that he took and how excited he was to be doing that. We were able to use one of the high school's bass drums, which was located up in the boardroom, and we had to kind of, he and Lindy were like wheeling it back through the hallway and back through into the dressing room, into our recording studio, and it was like, did you think you were going to be wheeling a bass drum around into a dressing room this week? But he was really just willing to, I don't think this week I ever heard Paxton kind of back away from any idea. If there was something that was kind of a challenge, he was like, let's do it. And whether it was wheeling a bass drum in, or playing a game in a different way, or taking a walk down the trail and hiking a little bit further, Paxton just took the bull by the horns this week. So thank you for that energy, Paxton. Jackson. So Jackson this week was really an inspiration as far as not being afraid to be the first one to have an idea. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating to be the first one to put your thoughts out there and to kind of see what other people are going to think about it. And when other people were feeling that intimidation, Jackson kind of looked around and went, okay, I think I have to be the one to say something. And he broke the ice and then kept the conversation going. It was never a my way or the highway. It was just, let's get this conversation started. And that takes a lot of guts to be able to say, I think I have an idea. So between games, between puppet building, he's been working on a piece for Cardboard Town with his family, and then we roped him into helping with another one here along with the rest of the campers. Jackson was always just kind of looking around going, how can I help? How can I bring other people along with me? And I really admired that. Nice work, Jackson. Casey. Super happy to have Casey with us back in camp this summer. And I think the biggest thing that I have seen in Casey is that she is doing such an awesome job being able to not only think think about how she can be successful, but ask for or say exactly what she would need to be successful in the next thing we're going to do. That is so hard to do, to think about like, what do I need to really make this great, and then tell someone else what that thing is. Casey has been doing an awesome job talking to people, even people that aren't her age, getting to know them, and just kind of really being a person at Snack that people can count on to sit down and have a conversation with. Sometimes by the time we get to the end of the day, everybody is a little bit just kind of drained, and Casey is always going to look for people who are feeling a little bit down or a little bit tired, and go and try and cheer them up or perk them up. And we need people like that. We need people who are going to look and see what people need and how they can help. Shout out to Casey. Lou. I'm going to start with Lou's shout out by tagging in Simon for just a minute, even though he's going to get his own shout out. When we started working on our puppets on Tuesday this week, I came into the black box and asked how a group was doing, and Brant, who was supervising the puppets, was like, oh, everything's going great, and Lou and Simon over there, they're Taco Bell, they're outside the box, and it was a really great way to express both Simon and Lou, and this week they just worked together like peanut butter and jelly, or peanut butter and chocolate, or whatever you think those two things are. And one of the reasons for that is because Lou just has such a curious mind. She is always thinking about 50 steps ahead and figuring out, okay, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen next? I see that there could be a problem here, a problem here, a problem here. How are we going to address those things? That is totally how a director thinks, and I can't wait to see how that grows for Lou, because I could definitely see her directing her own work someday. But make sure to keep an eye out for that owl puppet in Lou and Simon's group. It's going to have some really cool movements, so keep an eye out for how they went outside the box. Shout out to Lou. Gemma, come on up. So, with Gemma this week, what I really appreciated was that she was always ready to jump into the next thing. It was always like, okay, we just did Cardboard Town, we have spent all morning painting, and then we played a game. What's next? She is just a bundle of energy. She had great ideas to help her group out, whether it was playing a game or whether it was coming up with their story or how they were going to move on stage. We were joking this week because last year, during the first year of camp, we had a story where sandwiches fell, and we did not tell Gemma about it until the rehearsal that sandwiches were going to fall. So we had our dress rehearsal, sandwiches fell from the sky, and just the look on her face of just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is happening, was amazing. And even though we didn't have any sandwiches falling from the sky this year, I feel like Gemma's confidence on stage and just ability to be very calm and serene on stage is really growing with every single year. So shout out to Gemma for staying calm and confident on stage. Simon, come on up. We were super happy to have Simon back at camp this week. And like I mentioned before, he and Lou together were a dynamic duo. They were always creating things. They were always talking about animals and science and all of their ideas. It was really fun to see that friendship growing because they had been at camp together a little bit last year, but that was kind of a new connection. One thing that I really loved to see for Simon this week was when he brought a friend to camp on Wednesday. He really did an awesome job showing his friend around and taking ownership over being a good host for his friend throughout the day. He really just is becoming very comfortable at camp and then wanting to share that with other people. And that was really fun to see. Shout out to Simon. Macy, come on up. So Macy was in a group for her puppet festival that I think if we would have given them the time, probably would have written a 3-act musical. They had so many ideas. They never stopped working. We would be at break and they would ask for pen and paper or something else that they needed to write something down so that they wouldn't forget it. And Macy did such a good job within that of being a very calming presence in the group. She had a lot of ideas, but she also made sure that other people were being heard, and she would make sure that the group would slow down enough to really consider what they were doing and make sure that they weren't leaving anyone out or leaving anyone behind. So I really admired that, because it's one thing to be kind of the peacemaker in a group. It's totally another thing to get your own ideas out there and keep everyone else working and moving forward. Shout out to Macy. Susie, come on up. I really loved this week with Susie, getting to see her unleashed on a lot of our games. Susie has done quite a few of our performance camps, which we always play games, but a lot of times we've got like 2 hours after school, and so we do have to rehearse a little bit. And so it's been really fun this week to see Susie get to play some of our longer form games and really show just kind of how she can throw herself fully into some of those more active, running, and like very energetic games. She was in that group where they were always working on their show, and she did a really great job of being a person who would be all right with saying if she wasn't okay with where something was headed, but also then after hearing what other people's thoughts were, she could change her mind and say, okay, I think that makes sense to me. I'm okay if we keep moving. And it takes a lot of strength to be able to change your mind and to be able to say, if no, that really is not going to work for me, or okay, I can see why you're thinking of it that way. I can be okay with that and not make it a thing where it becomes a problem for the rest of the week. And from creating original works in like 3 days, that is a super important skill to have. Shout out to Susie. Cora, come on up. Cora has just grown up so much over this past school year. It is a little bit wild to see her this year. She has got so much confidence and poise. She is just bursting with energy and knowledge. I think my favorite moment this week with Cora was hearing how excited she was to write the lyrics to the song that they were going to put into their show. She asked for a notebook, and during one of our snack breaks just kind of sat by herself, thought through the ideas, thought what she wanted to write for the lyrics, and then brought it back to the group to co-write the melody together. Then once they had the melody down, I think they practiced for about 45 minutes until they had figured out exactly how they wanted it to be. And Cora was very gracious about making sure that everybody was a part of how the song came to be. She didn't make it, this is my song, I wrote the lyrics, I say how it goes. She was able to give her gift of her lyrics and keep her voice in the mix, but turn it over to the group. Shout out to Cora. Graciela. All right, and with Graciela this week, I was so impressed, and I know you will be too, by the way she uses her body with her puppet. She is wearing a cardboard puppet that basically blocks out everything below her neck, all the way down to her knees. She's got her arms that she can move, and that's pretty much all you can see. Her face is covered, she's got eye holes. Her arms are really the only tool she has to act with. But she is able to work through a song that is being played. It's probably about like a minute and a half, I would say 90 seconds, where Graciela's got this puppet on, and you just can't take your eyes off of her. She's thought out how she wants her arms to be, what kind of gestures she wants to be doing, and she stays very calm. A lot of times people pace nervously when they're feeling like they're in the spotlight, and Graciela, I never saw do that once in rehearsal. She had a vision, and she really stuck with it no matter what, and I admire that. So shout out to Graciela. All right, we are back and ready to start the first annual Dark Sky Puppet Festival. My name is Allison McGuire. I'm the Community Engagement and Education Director here at the George Daly Auditorium, and I want to welcome you all to our first showcase of the summer. Before we get started, I want to introduce some of our teachers who are going to be with us all summer. Here in the audience, we have Brant Boland. He is our resident puppeteer extraordinaire and was our director for the week, giving us all the tips on puppeteering, making puppets, how to use them on stage. We've got Brant with us from here in town. Back in the booth, we've got Lindy Slocum. She is our Musco intern for the summer. She is a sophomore at UNI studying music education. We've got Ryan Jones in the booth. He is our tech director here at the auditorium. Super happy to have him on board with us this summer. And in the back with our campers, we have Jay Tipsword. He is starting his 10th summer with us at some capacity. He lives in Guttenberg, but he has been with us at least 1 week of the summer for 10 years. Last 2 summers, he's been with us all 8 weeks. He is a stage combat instructor, an actor, a teacher, all sorts of hyphens with Jay. All right, so this week has been super busy at camp. The very first day, the first thing we did after we played a game, got to know each other's names, we went outside. Luckily the weather cooperated, on a little bit of a mini hike to go down the trail just a little bit to try and imagine what it would be like if we didn't have words to describe the things that we saw outside. So we tried to pick objects we could see, describe them without saying the color that they were, without some of the words that we would typically use to describe them. Because with the Dark Sky Puppet Festival, we wanted to encourage campers to start to see outdoors from the perspective of animals and plants. So try and take away some of what we normally think of when we think about going outside and try and see through nature's eyes. So that's why you will be seeing these puppet shows in a glow-in-the-dark fashion. We wanted to totally change your expectations for your vision. Some animals can see UV rays really well that we can't see, and we just wanted to try and change it up a little bit. See things unexpectedly, see magical things, see things that are a little bit unbelievable but are absolutely true. So the second day of camp, we went out on the tram trail. We went all the way from here to the new amphitheater out at Bernard campus that the auditorium has been renovating. We did a little bit of listening. We did a little bit of looking. We had Diane Crookham Johnson, who is an awesome bird and wildlife photographer, here on the first day of camp, and she actually helped us bird watch from inside the auditorium. She brought individual pictures of birds, handed them to everybody, and then gave us a slideshow of the same birds, different pictures, and we had to match up the birds that we were holding with the ones on the screen. And she gave us all sorts of awesome information about birds that we can see right here in our own backyards. The rest of the week was a lot of writing, a lot of constructing puppets, painting, and then bringing friends to camp, working on Cardboard Town. If you get a chance this weekend or next week, in Penn Central Mall, there is going to be a community art project of more than 40 buildings that are going to be anywhere from 3 feet to 8 feet tall, showing different landmark buildings in Oskaloosa and just celebrating this community. And so we had our campers painting the auditorium. So if you check out the art installation this week, campers will be able to see what they worked on and be able to see it against all of the other amazing buildings. Seriously, some of these are so detailed. The bandstand is beautiful. A family here worked on the book vault, which is a building I love, and it looks awesome. So lots of things to go and check out there. I feel like those are kind of the highlights of our week, and I'm going to let the rest of this speak for itself with our campers' performances. So I'm going to bring on to the stage group 1. And they're going to get set in their positions. Now remember, these ideas for the stories were all created by the campers in their groups. The sound effects were made by them, the puppets were made by them, everything from those groups. So without any further ado, please enjoy, and let's give a round of applause to welcome Kit and the Wondrous Things.
Kit and the Wondrous Things. Kit left the den because Mama didn't say why she should stay. Mama said to stay in the den, but for Kit, if she didn't understand why something was a particular way, her first thought was, why not? Kit left the den to see what was behind the grass and the trees she could see. Mama said there were wondrous things for Kit to see someday. Kit wondered when someday would come, and why someday couldn't be today. Kit left the den because wondrous things need to be seen and heard and smelled, and when Mama left the den today, she didn't specifically tell Kit not to leave the den today. So Kit left the den. Right away, Kit felt the wind on her fur and saw the moon in the sky and smelled a million things and wished she could follow all those smells all at once. Kit left the clearing outside the den to follow the smells. Kit followed her nose farther and farther into the woods with smells all around her she didn't notice, it getting darker and darker. Kit padded around a big tree and suddenly was surrounded by a howling whoosh, a howling whoosh and a crackling sound coming from all around. As she turned around and around, long, dark claws reached out at her from a giant, shadowy, whooshing monster. Kit ran as fast as she could, as far as she could. When Kit had run as far as she felt she could, she stopped to catch her breath. As Kit recovered from her frightened run, a high-pitched voice from up above her asked, "Who?" Kit got up and moved about, trying to see who asked her. "Who?" When she didn't answer, a similar voice asked, "Who?" "Mama calls me Kit," Kit said. Again, the voice said, "Who?" "Kit," said Kit. Then a chorus of voices from all around, all at once, said, "Who? Who? Who?" Surrounded by questions, the moment became too much for Kit, and she ran. Kit ran as fast as she could, as far as she could. When Kit had run as far as she felt she could, she stopped to catch her breath. As Kit caught her breath, she realized she had run so far she couldn't even remember which direction she needed to go to find the den. She turned around and around, but it seemed like she must have run in circles because the scent of her trail was all scattered about. But Kit couldn't worry about that because her ears heard another scary sound. She heard a crashing sound that just wouldn't stop. Crash! Kit ran, but after a few steps the crash was just as loud. She went a different way, but the crash was still loud. She ran in a third direction, and all of a sudden she found a big pool of water. And she saw that the crash was more water falling into the pool. This isn't scary, thought Kit. This is a wondrous thing, like Mama told me about. The crashing water made Kit wonder if the other sounds she had run from were also wondrous things. And she wondered if she could follow the sounds. So Kit found the whoos and saw the who sounds were made by big brown birds with bright eyes and wise round faces. She continued on and found the whooshes and crackles were made by a huge old willow tree and the wind blowing through its many drooping branches. And finally, Kit found the den. Mama was outside. She looked very worried. "Kit, I was worried sick. Where did you go?" "Mama, I have seen wondrous things," said Kit. She told Mama she was sorry. And she told Mama about the whooshing wind and the crackling willow. She told Mama about the hooing birds, and she told Mama about the beautiful crashing water. Mama said, "Those are wondrous things, and I'm so glad you found your way home and are safe." The end.
All right, that was Kit and the Wondrous Things. Next up, we will see from our second group a poem from a book called The Lost Spells, and it is called The Silver Birches. And so in this story, pay special attention to some of the moving features of the puppets that you'll see, and some of the really cool glow-in-the-dark additional things that are coming up. So group 2, you can go ahead and come out and get set up as you've got your puppets here. All right, next up is the silver birches.
Silver birch. A lullaby. Snow is falling, my silver seeker. Soon the path will be lost to sight. Soon the day will give way to the night. Ice is forming, my silver seeker. Soon the streams will vanish in tight. Soon the shadows will claim the light. Look over your shoulder where you have been. The edge of the wood can no longer be seen. Vast is the forest, and slender your track. Harder it grows to find your way back.
There's definitely a little bit of a Macbeth witch's chorus kind of thing going on there. All right, the next group you're going to see, and they're going to come on stage and start getting set up, is the Magic Trail. And this is the well-known story, just kidding, not well-known story. This is the story of a kangaroo and her pet goat who one day come across a magical door and go on a big adventure. All right, here's the Magic Trail.
It's such a nice day, isn't it, Izzy? When did this door get here? I wonder what's behind it. Where are we? I gotta get home to my friends and my family. I'm lost and confused, and I have nowhere to be. So please help me escape. And this is where a corner from my house, and now it's gone. Gotta get home, 'cause that's where I belong. Okay, Gigi, let's get home. Gigi, where are you? Gigi, 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 Gigi. I have to find her. Hi, I am Miss Melody. I heard that melody you sang. Do you get it? Because my name is Melody. So, you like to make jokes? Well then, what does a kangaroo say to an actor before a play? I hope you do well. My name is Kaylee. I'm looking for my lost goat. Have you seen any goats around here? Perhaps I have seen one trotting along in a scared manner. I apologize for not notifying anyone. I just thought it was a wild goat wandering with no food. I felt bad, but I didn't want to bother it. Thank you very much for telling me where it was. By any chance, did you see which way it went? I was just wondering. Could you lead me in the direction you think it went? I think it went down the side of the trail. Hi, my name is Penelope, but you can call me Penny. We don't run into many kangaroos around these parts. What brings you here? Hi, Penny. I'm Kaylee. I'm actually looking for my lost goat. Have you seen any goats around? It wandered off pretty far after we came through the portal. It's a long story. I've seen it before. It was shivering so much. I can come and help you find it. That would be lots and lots of help. You can tag along with me, and thank you. Can you show me the way it went? Yes, follow me. Those two birds have been following us for a while. They look suspicious. Why have you been following us? A goat ran into us and told us that she was looking for a kangaroo, and we thought it was you. That is why we've been following you. She stopped to talk and said she was looking for her owner. Hey, that's my goat Gigi. She's across the bridge and grazing in the meadow. Thank you so very much. I'll get my goat. Oh, and thank you.
And finishing out the afternoon, we have our next group who are performing the theft of honey.
Once a colony of bees made their hive in a white box near a field of lovely flowers.
For an age, the bees lived by gathering pollen from the flowers, which were tended by a small group of giants.
Life was good in the colony until one cheery morning was interrupted by billowing smoke pouring into the hive.
The bees were in a panic, but the top levels of the hive were evacuated, and the lower levels were sealed before the smoke could reach the queen.
When the smoke cleared, the bees saw that much of their honeycomb had disappeared or been destroyed.
The young bees were enraged.
A party of worker bees who had been away harvesting pollen on the early morning shift reported seeing a giant carrying the honeycomb back to the giant house.
Now the young bees' anger had a target.
Buzzes of anger and rage filled the chambers of the nest as the bees prepared to avenge the pillaging and destruction of what they had worked so hard to gather.
The bees were ready to swarm against the giants until the queen emerged from her chamber with something to say.
This is not the first place we called home. Before we called this box home, we lived far away, near another group of giants. There our ancestors also found much pollen to harvest and grew prosperous and happy. They too were visited by a giant who took their honeycomb and damaged their nest. And yes, they too decided to swarm. In the end, even though many bees gave their lives to sting the giant, other giants came and knocked down and trampled the hive. The surviving bees were forced to move on and build a new hive.
There was a hush in the chamber as the angry bees considered the queen's words.
Soon, though, a young bee, the strongest and fastest of his generation, stepped forward, saying, "Then we shall not make the same mistake of our ancestors, who were forced here to build the colony in which we now live. We will strike with our stings until the giant falls and does not rise again, no matter the cost. Then we shall be left in peace."
Buzzes of agreement filled the chamber, and the queen raised her antenna to speak again.
You misunderstood. The bees from my story did not build the hive in which we live and work. The story I have told has happened many times. Our ancestors' hives have been destroyed by fire and poison and violence many times. The giants have taken our honeycomb many times, and sometimes they damage the hive. They also plant and cultivate the flowers and plants on which we harvest our pollen. I do not believe the giants wish us harm. This, however, is always true. When we choose to swarm, when we choose to fight, when we choose to harm, we lose.
And so the bees decided to abandon their swarm and abandon their hive, and abandon the fertile pollen fields to live in a forest where they would even harder to survive.
As time passed, the events in the white box colony were forgotten, and the next generation of young bees began looking for an easier home near the cultivated flowers of the giant.